Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is Sunday, December 10th. And if you are participating in the 24 Days of Christmas Hope read-along, then we were scheduled to have finished the Christmas Hope by yesterday. So I'm coming to you today with a discussion video of both the book and the movie. Now, I finished the book the very first day of the 3 days. I was listening to it on audio. It was just about 2 hours and 47 minutes. I listened to it through Hoopla on my phone. Hoopla is a library subscription service that is free if your library subscribes. And so I know that several booktubers have talked about Hoopla. And so if you don't know if your library subscribes to Hoopla and you want to you want to find out, then definitely you should ask them. They not only have audiobooks, they have ebooks and music and movies and everything like that. So anyway, Donna VanLiere herself has narrated this, and I just flew through it. I actually started it the night before because I didn't have any other audiobook to listen to, and so by the next morning, I flew through it. It was so good. I liked this one, I think, as much, maybe better than the Christmas Shoes. I definitely got a little more emotional, but I think a lot of that had to do with the narrator, because as I said, this was narrated by Donna VanLiere, who was the author. I have listened to her narration of her book called The Good Dream, and she's just a fantastic narrator. I love her vocal quality, and it's very unique sounding. In The Good Dream, she did it with more of a Southern accent. In this one, it was not so much of a Southern accent. I'm not sure where the setting of this book was. I guess they're all set in the same area, and you'd think after listening to 3 of these books, I would know where the setting is, and I'm sorry I don't. I think it's up north somewhere. Anyway, this book features Nathan, who was the little boy from Christmas Shoes, grown up. He's a doctor in this in this book, but he has a smaller part in this book. And then just a cameo of Robert Layton. He comes into play just a little bit towards the end. The main character of this book is Patricia Addison. Her and her husband Mark have become a little more estranged. They lost their son in a car accident about 4 years prior to the beginning of this book. And the interesting thing, when I was watching the movie, actually, when I was watching the Christmas Blessing movie, which is movie 2, the very first scene is, you don't realize it if if you're reading them in order, and if you haven't read Christmas Hope by the time you watch Christmas Blessing, the very first scene has a boy coming into the hospital being brought in from a car accident, and Nathan is his doctor, and that's the son in the Christmas Hope. So he dies right at the beginning of this movie, and so now in this book and movie, his parents are grieving. The mom, Patricia, is a social worker, so you can only imagine what a social worker must go through. And then when you are confronted with children at Christmas time who have lost their parents for one reason or another, it's just heartbreaking. So this centers around a little girl. Actually, there's 2 girls. One she finds a foster home for. It's a baby. And then the second one, her mother is in a car accident right before Christmas. And so she can't find a foster home, and her only option is to take her to the state home, and she just can't bring herself to do it, and so she breaks all the rules and takes her home with her. Well, so her and her husband haven't really been communicating much. He's an airline pilot, and so he just stays in the air a lot and doesn't come home a lot. But he comes home, and he sees this little girl there, and he just falls in love with this little girl, and they have a good Christmas together. Meanwhile, she's still trying to figure out how she can, keep this little girl a little bit longer without losing her job. And it's just, it's so good. Now, I realized part of the way into it that I had listened to this before on audio. Maybe, I don't even know how long ago. I'm not even sure when the book was published. Early 2000s, I think. And I loved it then, and I loved it just as much. 2005 is what this says. So I'm not sure at what point I ended up finding it and listening to it from our library, but I loved it. I couldn't remember how it ended. I kind of had an idea, but that didn't diminish my enjoyment of it at all. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's just, it's definitely a book full of hope. So it's appropriately titled. It's wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. Now, in comparing the book with the movie, I felt like that the actress playing Patricia played her a little more harsh than I felt like Donna VanLiere read her in the book and wrote her, really. She, excuse me, she did the character as the book says, but I don't know, she didn't have the same kind of heart. I felt like her interpretation of the character was to, she was mourning the loss of her son still, and she was pushing people away more than I felt like she did in the book. And it was a little harder to have as much sympathy for her in the movie as I did in the book. And then other than that, there were just little differences that, were not the same. But I think if I had a little more sympathy for her character in the movie, I would have been drawn to it a little bit more. But in the character's effort to push people away, she kind of pushed me away too. And so for that reason, like I said, I had a hard time having a lot of sympathy. The little girl in the movie was very cute. She was a little older than I pictured her in the book, but I guess, when you're hiring an actress who's young, you need to hire one that can do the part and do the role. And it was really important, for her to do her lines right and all of that. So, and then they brought in her mother a little more. They gave her mother a little more character than in the book. In the book, you don't really know much about her mother, but this movie starts right out with her mother, and you get to learn a little more about her. And so it is a little more heartbreaking when the little girl loses her mother to a car accident. And that, I don't know, I guess I should have warned you that might be a spoiler, but really that all kind of happens really early in the movie, in the book. And so anyway, if you read the book first before seeing the movie, then you're going to know ahead of time that that's going to happen. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I guess that's it as far as what I wanted to talk about. Have you read the book? Have you watched the movie? One or the other, both? Let me know your thoughts. And then the other actor change was Ian Ziering played Nathan instead of Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris played Nathan in the second movie. His part was not as big in this movie, and so maybe it wasn't a big enough part for Neil Patrick Harris. I don't know. But I thought Ian Ziering did an excellent job. They also had a different actress for his wife, Megan, too. So that's all, I guess, that I have for this discussion video. If you haven't joined in to our Goodreads group, I will leave a link below. It is Sarah's Goodreads group for her Not Just Romance Novels book club, and we are discussing each of the books. Quite a few of you have joined in, and there are people already on book 5, so you guys are reading ahead, and that's awesome. I'm so glad that several of you are excited about reading the books. I was kind of worried at first that most of you would go, I can't read 8 books, but it looks like some of you are going to beat me, and you're going to get them all read, and that's awesome. So that's all I have for this video. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.